Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back
Hi,
to the next episode of Community Conversation with
conversations.
Gary and Stacy. Yes, here we are. We've not had we've not done an episode in a couple of weeks, but it's been busy. I know you guys understand how it is to be a parent and
Mm-hmm.
be working and all kind of stuff, and it's been really busy.
It has been busy.
But it's awesome though that we have this topic today. We think this will make it up for you guys, and hopefully you'll keep following us. You'll keep checking out the episodes. If you haven't subscribed to our channel on YouTube, go ahead and do that. If you haven't, you're not following us on podcast, go ahead and do that. Check out our stuff. It's very important for you to
Mm.
do that and look at the previous episodes, and then you'll understand that there is a process to the madness.
Yeah, marriage is work.
Right? Marriages work. So, the topic today, we just want to start off with just we've faced a lot of challenges.
We have.
Mm-hmm.
We have.
Mm-hmm.
17 years. There's a lot that has happened.
Mm-hmm.
Um, family,
Mm-hmm.
finances,
Right.
working. There's
Right.
just so much
Right.
that happens in the course of your life as you're
Right.
trying to build.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think we've had like what would you say was the hardest season or even event that you could share
Oh,
for us? Like some of the hardest things that we've faced. So I know we've had some real financial things, especially
financial
when we had
issues.
seasons that change.
Mm-hmm.
Some seasons you have more money, some seasons you have
Mm-hmm.
less money.
And we have been moving quite a bit from the
Right.
time we've gotten married. We lived
Yeah.
in Botswana,
Mm-hmm.
then we lived in Texas, then we
Mm.
went back to Botswana, and then
Mm-hmm.
we moved back. I think challenges came with the adjusting
Mm-hmm.
of having to move
Right.
places,
Right.
and it feels like you're starting over.
Right.
So yeah.
So for me, I was I was telling Stacy the other day, I was like, I know that being married to me requires a lot of, because I'm a dreamer and I believe a lot in moving in faith and sometimes make decisions that naturally don't make sense because I believe in the vision that God has given us. And having a wife who understands those things, who could easily, being as pretty as she is, and being as smart as she is, she could have easily just chosen to live a regular life, an ordinary life where somebody just makes money and lives on. But she has chosen to be here with me
Mm-hmm.
in everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you remember that the vows when you say, "Wait,
Your
your people
people
will
will
be
be
your
mine.
people." Where
It's
you
like,
go,
huh?
where you go,
I will
I
go. It's
will
like, what?
go.
Why are
Wait,
you
what?
You're new.
but
Nobody told me about this.
but you've kept to that
I
though. Tell
have,
me
and
why.
strangely, it takes me time. Generally I don't do well with change. I like stability.
You telling me? Yeah, go
Yeah, I
ahead.
like stability. I'll go to the same restaurant, have the same meals,
Uh-huh.
wear the same clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, I like stability,
Yeah.
but I find that there is a a growth that comes with doing stuff that's not
Yep.
the usual normal thing to
Right.
do. I think that's important to me, and also I think trusting God and trusting you,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that you really love me
Mm-hmm.
and you're protective of us, like
Mm-hmm.
me and the kids.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me a little more confidence in trusting you when you say,
Yeah.
"Hey, let's try this."
Right.
But
Right.
it does take me more
A minute.
time to wrap
Yes.
my head around it, to pray about it, and be like, okay,
Yes.
how is this really gonna work?
Right.
So we're not rash
Mm-hmm.
in our decisions, but we've contemplated it, we've worked things out, and we kind of have a plan.
Right. And we seem to always, me and you have seemed to always have the next thing that we're doing. There's always like
Mm.
a season that's about to happen. It could be like in the next 6 months, it could be in the next 2 years, it could be in
Mm-hmm.
the next 5 years. There's always something. I think just being able to have the faith that we have to not only in each other, but the faith we have in God Himself has been a major thing for
Mm-hmm.
us. Because, and this is why we brought this topic, because we've met couples, and we know people, and I know you guys know people that, you know, maybe one of them just decided, you know what, I cannot live this type of life. I want to
Mm-hmm.
go back to my life. I want to live a regular life. I want to do so. So life circumstances and making decisions
Mm-hmm.
about being able to follow that, and that normally breaks people.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk to people, especially that move or make a transition, is that a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that even though they're changing the season, that things will still remain the same.
Mm-hmm.
So you could move to another country,
Or another
have
state.
another child,
Mm-hmm.
another state,
Change your job.
change your jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But the mistake most people make is thinking that the same thing will that things will remain the
Mm-hmm.
same in the marriage. Because what does it require? It requires sacrifice,
Mm-hmm.
it requires understanding, it requires giving each other the benefit of the doubt,
Mm-hmm.
giving each other room to be able to adjust, because you both are individuals
Mm-hmm.
that deal with stuff different
Yeah,
ways.
and some people are faster in dealing with change
Yeah,
and they can adapt faster. And you might
right.
be able to find kind of like find your groove in the
Yeah,
new thing.
right.
Because I remember when we moved here first, part of my challenge was like you had found your
Mm-hmm.
goal, your groove, you were moving, you were getting stuff done. And
Mm-hmm.
I kind of felt stuck. Like
Right.
I was at home, I didn't really have anything to do, but I had already known that I was going to be at home. But
Yeah.
knowing something and experiencing it is completely different. So even
Yes.
though you agree to doing it, when you're in it, it really takes time for you to change your focus.
Yeah.
And in that moment, for me, I had to pray and say, okay, Lord, so what are you going to have me do?
Right.
Yeah.
So, but so let's just be honest a little bit. But the fights were not that great.
Oh, the fights were
Were
terrible.
horrible.
Because for the first time, I had nothing to do.
Yep.
You had more time. We
Yep.
were home together,
Right.
and it's like we were just
Bumping
there.
heads and yep.
Yeah, so it really took, and in that moment I felt like we had made the biggest mistake ever. Like, why did I
Why did we
agree to
even
this?
do?
I kind of
Yeah.
put my life on hold and
Yeah.
then moved into this new thing, and it just doesn't seem like it's for me.
Right.
But I remember in that moment, I thought about, I think I was doing some studies and some
Mm-hmm.
reading and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I felt like if you've ever done any kind of gardening and you
Mm-hmm.
transplant a tree or a flower pot or whatever, when you move it from the place where it's flourishing and it's growing, maybe it's the space is confined and it doesn't have enough room to blossom and grow, so you move it into a wider space.
Mm-hmm.
But usually when you move it into that wider space,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't seem to
It doesn't look.
grow.
It doesn't look
It looks,
attractive.
yeah,
It
it's
looks
all
like it's
wilty
dying. Yep.
and it's gonna die. and
Yep.
and then, but as time progresses and the roots go deeper and it gets the nourishment that it needs, then it
Yeah.
grows bigger than what
Right.
it could have grown had you
Right.
not moved it.
Right.
So I think that thought
That thought, yeah, helped
kept
us.
me,
So,
helped us. Yeah.
so I need you to think about what is it that you and your partner have been postponing because you're afraid of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, you're not going to grow. Not only as like your marriage doesn't grow, but also you as individuals are not going to grow. Because when you think about it, we've grown
Oh yeah.
significantly, and there are things that used to bother me that don't bother me no more. There are things that used to bother you that still bother you half of the time. But you know, but we've grown. We've seen the things that we
Yeah.
need to be able to see.
Yeah.
And also you think about, so your blessing is never just your blessing. Your blessing affects your spouse, affects your children,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone around you. So your change or your transformation is
Mm-hmm.
not just for you, it's also for your marriage, for your children, and for everyone around you.
Mm-hmm.
So do not be afraid to take steps of faith.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you fail, so what?
Mm-hmm. I'm not big on that.
So no, but I believe that though.
I
Like,
know you do.
yeah, I believe that. I believe if you fail, so what?
But
you restart.
but this is the thing, because even with our youngest, when
Yeah,
she's doing her competitions,
yeah,
we usually say to her that you win or you learn.
yeah.
So even if you go into it and you don't necessarily win
You
in
didn't
terms
fail.
of
Yeah,
of what you hope to accomplish, you certainly will
you'll learn.
learn,
Yep.
and that puts you in a better place for your next decision or your next
Right,
move.
right.
So I feel
So what do you think is the key to being able to move together despite the challenges? Some of the keys that you can think of. Uh, yeah,
talking it out.
talking it out.
So
Yep.
you need to talk it out. You need to be on the same page when it comes to any big decision.
So talking it out for me, so for Stacy is different, but for me is the same as even when you don't feel like talking about it, you talk about
Yeah. It takes, because for me, I talk to myself a lot. So I'll talk to myself and I'll work it out. I'll rationalize and stuff.
it.
So I either am for it or I'm against it, but it's all in me, in my
Right, right,
head.
right, right.
So for you, you need me to talk
To
to
talk
you.
to, yep,
So then it takes me a while. I work it out and then I can come to you and say, hey,
yeah.
yeah,
So for me, for my personality, if we don't talk about it, I feel stuck. So
yeah,
then I'm not, but when we talk about it and we reason it out, we don't agree, but at least we're talking about
yeah.
it. I think that's a great thing for me. So talking it out is important. What's the other thing?
Plan.
Plan.
I
Yeah.
think planning is important. The Bible
Yeah.
talks about whoever like plans on building a house without
Yeah.
sitting down and thinking the cost through.
Yeah.
So you plan what is it gonna cost
Mm-hmm.
us?
Mm-hmm.
What is it gonna require for us in this change?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So for me, I'm a fast thinker and fast mover.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why Stacy is important for me because then she's like, okay, hold on.
Let's look at the
Let's look at the
details. Yeah.
details first. So for me, I'm like, okay, let's move to America.
Mm-hmm.
And then she says, hang on, how? And I'm like, what you mean how? We're still moving to America. She's like, yeah, but how? And then
Yeah.
we got to talk about it. So how are we going to pay for all of this? How are we going
Mm-hmm.
to do this? How are we going to do that? And so talk about it, plan, and I think it's important for oneness to exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that oneness means agreement at all times.
Yeah, I know.
No. Sometimes we don't agree. We have two complete because we have different personalities, different you used to say brought up, see?
Brought up
We've been brought up differently.
upbringing.
Upbringing. We have different skills and different things like
Yeah.
that. We think different. So I am like, I've mentioned it, I'm a dreamer and I
Mm-hmm.
like vision and I would think, hey, that would be great, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't really think about what would be the negative side of it
Yeah.
because I'm also an optimistic person.
Yeah.
so, so
I'm a realist.
she claims to be a
I'm a
realist.
realist.
Yeah.
I always say, okay, this
Yeah.
doesn't look like it's gonna work.
Yeah, but I'm the guy that will say no, but God,
Yeah.
but God.
So
So
oneness is important. Coming
yeah,
to that place where you're like, okay, we can move with this.
yeah,
And sometimes oneness, the goal, I
yeah,
think that's important. The goal is what needs to be the same. It doesn't
right.
necessarily have to be the same way of getting there. Because
Yes.
we've had challenges where we're like trying to achieve the same thing
Mhm.
differently.
Differently. Yep.
So once you realize that, okay, the end result is what we're both looking at,
Right.
then the way to getting there is something that you can talk about
Right.
and compromise on,
Right.
but the goal remains the same.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So walking together in all these things is very important, even when one person has already arrived in the season and the other person has not. Walking together is quite important because when you walk together, you're able to fight things together.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to say, okay, I see what you're doing. Well, I'm not there yet, but I see what you're doing, but I'm going to support you.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never felt like my wife doesn't support me. Even in my madness, she does support me. I don't think I've ever not
Oh
supported you.
no.
In fact, I've pushed you too hard sometimes.
Yes. Sometimes I'm like, just leave me
Just
alone.
right.
Just don't want to do anything.
But walking together is important. And then also just remembering that different people deal with seasons differently.
Yeah.
So give your
Grace.
mate grace. Give your mate room to grow. Give your mate the benefit of the doubt. And you're gonna have times where you question, if does this person really love me?
Mm-hmm.
But knowing the fact that they do
Mm-hmm.
is also important.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. And then remember that the person who's on the receiving end of the grace, you can't just be there
yeah,
sitting in it basking.
basking
You're
in
gonna
grace.
have to make a decision. You're gonna have to move with stuff. You're gonna have to take risk. It's the
Yeah,
only way. Nobody goes to the gym and lift the same what do you
wait.
weight
Mhm.
at forever. After a while, you're required to up your pounds or whatever you do. I don't
Mhm.
know. But if you're gonna grow, it requires
It
for you
requires
to
you
do
to
more than the what you're comfortable with.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fantastic.
Again,
I
yes.
think we've had some really good nuggets of wisdom. So remember to follow us, subscribe, like all our stuff, go on social media and just follow us and do all kind of stuff that you know what to do.
Yep.
We are grateful that you are following this, and may God bless you and your family. All
Yes.
right.
Bye.